got married soon after that and moved to Iowa. My Uncle Jim, as Judy had mentioned, was a very good man. He was kind and intelligent and caring. He loved his family and his friends, and I admired his ability to work with all kinds of people and to be able to start a conversation with anybody at any time. He had an easygoing and caring attitude, and I know that everybody in the family can mention times when Uncle Jim helped us in some form or fashion. He had a very good sense of humor. He loved classical music and opera, stamp collecting, and TV cartoons. He loved Bugs Bunny. I remember sitting on the sofa in their house in Iowa when I was 5 years old and calling out my uncle because he wanted to know when the next Bugs Bunny cartoon came on TV. It was amazing that a professor at a university would still be interested in Warner Brothers cartoons. The year after my uncle and Aunt Betty got married, I went with my grandmother to visit them in Iowa. I was 5 years old at the time, and my uncle was teaching chemistry at the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, and my aunt was a homemaker. That August, they welcomed their brand new baby and my cousin Tanya to the family. I was there in Iowa that summer and remember how my Uncle Jim beamed with joy when he brought home my cousin Tanya and her mom from the hospital. My Aunt Betty was very attached to our family in New York, and particularly my grandmother, after she got married. I remember that if we didn't visit Iowa, that my Uncle Jim would drive my Aunt Betty and cousin Tanya all the way to New York from Iowa so that they could spend the summer with us in New York. During these summers, my cousin's cousin Kevin, who is here, who lived on Long Island and who was a year younger than Tanya, would come to visit our house. They both had August birthdays and invariably would celebrate at my house in Queens with Kevin's dad Calvin and mom Sylvia. I remember those summers as being really fun times at the house. All the while, my uncle worked at a research lab in Ames, Iowa during this time. I remember how generous and kind it was for him to allow my aunt and my cousin to come stay with us while he conducted research back in Iowa. My uncle was always a pillar in our family because he offered us so much advice and help on many things, whether it was about school or classes or later about work and career choice. He taught chemistry at the University of Northern Iowa for over 30 years until his retirement. When he retired, he decided with my Aunt Betty to sell their house in Iowa and move east to Connecticut to be closer to my cousin and her family. He was a devoted grandfather, and he loved both Kaylin and Dana very much. That was very clear to all of us. I remember when they were still going to school in Sherman, Connecticut, Dana and Kaylin, he would get up very early to make them breakfast and then drive them to school. And then after school, he would do the reverse and pick them up from school, bringing them home to assist with their homework. Over the last few years, the effects of his Parkinson's, he was not able to drive or to do very much, but still we felt his loving and caring presence. The last time we had a meal together, it was actually about a month ago, here in New York, in early November. This was during Dana and my mom's birthday. It's actually at the restaurant we will be going to later on today. Tanya, my aunt, my mom, and both Kaylin and Dana were there with Uncle Jim. He sat in the wheelchair at the table at the Chinese restaurant, just silent. I decided to just sit next to him and hold his hand quietly, which was still firm and strong, as a way of quietly expressing my appreciation and thanks for him. I know now that he is with God and enjoying his heavenly reward. His pain and his discomfort are no longer there. So we want to thank everybody who came to pay respects today. His passing was not expected so suddenly, and we know that everyone has sacrificed time to come here during a busy holiday schedule. And we want to just express our appreciation and gratitude to everybody. Thank you.